Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's had a great week and everybody's had good luck completing the project in time and all that. Um, this is my contemporary Gothic presentation, and I am doing Interstellar by Christopher Nolan. As I explained in the video last week, this is one of my favorite movies of all time, if not my favorite movie of all time. And I think this is a perfect candidate for the contemporary Gothic presentation due to the aspect of all of the space travel, all of the unknown, all of the different phenomenons that they encounter. So what makes Interstellar Gothic? Multiple different aspects of fear that I discussed is mainly the fear of the unknown, because they are going on the basic premise of Interstellar is the world is changing due to climate change, and it's going to be to the point where in the next 40 years that they will not be able to grow any more food at all. GMO, raised cattle, any crop, it's all going to be impossible. So NASA is sending out a special team called Lazarus in order to find a new world by going through Gargantua and traveling to the other galaxy, because they have scoped out the other galaxy and they see at least 12 habitable planets. They sent out a team beforehand, and that was about 10 years ago, so they just went through the black hole probably 5 years prior to the setting of this film. And they want to send out another team in there to help start establishing a colony, which that is the mission of the whole movie. And since this mission is so difficult, they're going through a black hole. They have no idea what's going to happen while they're going through the black hole, as soon as they get to the other side, what that is going to entail. And then all of the different planets, all they have is satellite images of them. They have no idea what they're going to find on there. So lots of different aspects of fear that are bundled into one, and this team of 4 scientists and astronauts have to go encounter this and complete the mission to save humanity. So the world is running out of food in the near future, which is what I stated in the previous slide, and there is a large possibility that they are not coming home. A large possibility. So Cooper's love for his daughter Murphy, he is dead set on getting back home to her and has no idea what this mission is going to entail. And even whenever he's leaving, it kills him. So the possibility of not returning home is very prevalent on his mind. And they are going further than anybody has ever been. So they have no idea if their fuel's going to survive, if their food's going to stay long enough in order for them to complete the mission. They have no clue. So this mission is a very daunting task, and anybody on it would have no idea what's going to happen. In leaving home for the last time, this scene is very emotional and distraught, because there is one line that Cooper said to his daughter Murph, and he said, "Hell, when I get back, I have no idea. We might even be the same age." And that really sets it in for the audience as well, that they have no idea how long that they're going to be gone, if they're even going to survive. And it's very intimidating to anybody that would be going on this mission and leaving back everything that they've ever built for themselves. It's going to be a very, very challenging task. And leaving home, nobody wants to do that. And it's a lot to ask out of a person with no end time on their mission, no promises that they're going to see their family ever again, no promises that they're going to spend time and be able to hug their daughter again, their son again, everything. So it's a very emotional scene full of Gothic elements that relate directly back to the primary theme being fear. So They end up passing through the black hole completely fine. Ship was still intact 100%, and everything was going great. So they pieced off from the Endurance, which the Endurance is the space station that they ported their ship on in order to get to the black hole. They went through and they saw 3 or 4 different data probes on different planets of where the astronauts have landed, because they all branched off. The team of 6 astronauts that went before them branched off into different planets and went there. They have data probes and they have beacons, but all of that data was not able to get out, because whenever they go through that black hole, it wipes all of their communication systems. So all they can see is a ping on a radar instead of data transmitting through that message. So they decided to go to the closest planet, and I forget the astronaut's name that landed there, but they landed on the planet in order to find. Okay, let me back up real quick. So all of these planets are they orbit around the black hole. The black hole is like their primary gravitational field for 4 of the planets that are closest to the black hole, and the sun is very far away. So since it is orbiting around a black hole, whenever you slip around a black hole or be on a planet with a large gravitational field, time moves very differently, since time is relevant. So every single hour on this planet that they spend is 7 years on planet Earth, which is completely mind-boggling to think about and experience. And as you could imagine, they have a large fear of landing down on this planet due to all the time passing on Earth, because they don't even know if everybody is going to be dead by the time they get off of this planet if they spend too long. So it's a very daunting thing, but they end up landing on this planet. And as you can see in this picture, it is all water for as far as you could see. But in the distance, it looks like there's mountains. So they go around, they try to find the probe as quickly as they can. About 30 minutes passes by. They end up finding the probe, but it's in the water, like ankle deep, and their ship, the ship that the other person landed on, is leveled. Completely destroyed, nothing left of it but the probe sending out a message. And since the gravity field is different on this planet, 1 hour is 7 years back on planet Earth. But keep in mind that the mission that they went beforehand was like 10 to 15 years earlier. So on this planet, the other team or the other person only landed about an hour and a half ago, roughly. So as they find the probe, they turn around and look, and the mountains are a lot closer than they are. Then they shortly realize that that is a mountain-sized wave coming towards them and coming towards the ship. So they have to rush back to the ship to get back on in order to leave before anything happens and before they end up dead as well. So it turns out that astronaut that landed on this planet died as soon as they landed, and it was just an hour and a half earlier. So they rush back to the ship. Cooper gets back first. And then the other guy that's on the left, he is mainly worried about the person on the right, Professor Brand, about getting the mission complete and getting back. But the probe was part of a bigger part of metal, so they weren't able to separate it in order to bring it out. So it was a very challenging thing in order to do that, but they have a wave closing in on them maybe a minute and a half out, so they have to rush to get back to the ship, which is about 50 meters away. So Professor Brand ends up getting stuck, and the AI robot, I know I'm probably talking a whole bunch of gibberish right now if you've never seen the movie, but the robot that they have on board with them for any assistance with anything ends up getting Professor Brand out, and the robot sprints to bring Professor Brand back to the ship. Well, I forget the guy on the left's name, ends up letting them on first, and the wave is about to start crashing in on him. Professor Brand and the robot get back on the ship, but right before they can start the engines and take off, and the last guy can get in, he ends up getting swept by the wave. So he ends up dying. But while they get swept by the wave, due to Professor Brand's strive to get the mission complete. They were too late to take off in the ship, so they just had to ride it out. They ended up riding it out, and they were completely fine, but the engines were flooded with water, and they had to let the engines drain out first before they could ignite them and take back off. So this takes a long time, and they end up figuring out that each wave is about an hour and a half before they pass. So they figured as soon as the last astronaut landed, they ended up dying right away. So the last wave starts coming up on them whenever they are finally getting ready to take back off. But at this point, they've been on that planet for roughly 3 hours now. Oh, I'm sorry, roughly 4 hours now, waiting on the engines to get all of the water out of them. And then Cooper ends up wasting the onboard oxygen and flooding the engines with oxygen in order to get the engines fired back up before the last wave hits them. They barely make it out in the nick of time, and they are distraught on how much time it took them on that planet. So they get back to the space station, and one of the astronauts was left behind just in case to keep the Endurance in the same path. And he said he has been waiting for 28 to 30 years, something like that, for them to return. And he was like, there is a large amount of messages that have been left for y'all. They are not able to get communications out, but they are able to receive communications from Earth. So whenever Cooper returns to the Endurance and views the messages, he sees messages from 33 years of his family trying to contact him. Keep in mind, he was only gone for 3 hours. 3 or 4 hours, give or take, on this planet. 33 years of messages have been received to him, and that one part where he said, I don't know, he said to his daughter Murph, I don't know, we might even be the same age when they get back. She sent him a video on her, I forget what birthday, but the same birthday, the same age that he was, sent her a video of her blowing out the candle, and that's the only message that she ever sent him because she was so direly mad. And Cooper just breaks down because the fear of his came true, of him not knowing when he was going to return and life passing him by completely. And it is a very emotional scene whenever you see that, and she's crying, Cooper's crying, and the audience can really feel the fear coming true. So they end up going to a different planet, and they end up saving one of the astronauts, but the astronauts had ill intentions. The planet that he stayed on, he gave the new astronauts of the new Lazarus mission false hopes of that planet being habitable. And then he tries to have everybody killed so he can take the Endurance for himself and get back home. While he does, he attempts to dock onto the Endurance from the Ranger, one of the spaceships that went down to the Earth, or not the Earth, but to the new planet. He ends up docking it incorrectly, and there is a pressure breach. So as soon as he goes to pressurize the cabin, it blows up a third of the Endurance, which is completely... It's not looking good for the rest of them because the Endurance is spinning out of control. A third of it is missing. They will never be able to pressurize it again, and they only have a limited amount of oxygen supply. So after all that happens, they end up getting... They were in two different spaceships. They brought two down to the planet. Dr. Mann took one of them, and then Cooper and Professor Brand got another one. So the Endurance ends up exploding, spinning out of control. Cooper ends up docking back into it correctly, and slowing it down, and then gets it back on the current path to go. They no longer have enough fuel to travel back to Earth, so they have to go to the third world. And at that point, all hope that Cooper has to see his family is completely lost. All hope. So they end up setting their path to this third world. Well, in order to do that, they realize they have to shed some weight in order to catch an orbit around and kind of slingshot off of the black hole. So whenever he does that, he has plans of his own, and he ends up dropping his ship to shed some of the weight, just sending Professor Brandon, and he's going to go re-enter the black hole. So whenever he re-enters the black hole, he is going a lot faster than they were before, and it ends up shredding his ship to shreds. And he gets caught in this black hole without a ship, just him in his spacesuit after he ejects, and it ends up coming on this. He ends up hurling towards this figure that we see in the picture. And as soon as he gets his bearings right, we shortly realize that this is a simplified depiction of the fifth dimension, because the fifth dimension is completely outside space and time, location, everything. You can see everything, anywhere, anytime, at any point in history, all at once, kind of just walking down the street. It's completely mind-boggling, and this is one of my favorite scenes of this movie. So in order to simplify it down to where he can understand it, it is only different time periods of one scene, which is in Murphy's room, in her bedroom. And he's completely starstruck. He does not know what to do whenever he sees his daughter again through these walls, because that bookshelf is very significant inside of the movie in order to get messages out through gravity anomalies. He does not know what to do, and he's just breaking down crying, realizing that he's never going to see his daughter again, and this is the only way that he can see her. So in its endless loops of when he left as well. So he's reliving his worst nightmare infinitely. That is such a conception that is overlooked whenever basic viewers see this movie and they aren't analyzing beyond the surface level. Like, it is such a dark place to be. And then shortly after, he realizes that the fifth dimension is completely outside the bounds of time, location, and relativity, but gravity travels across dimensions, always, no matter what. And that is a proven science fact that they've known. So whenever he is hitting the back of the wall, he's pushing the books off and ends up sending out a Morse code to his daughter, saying stay right before he leaves. And there was a gravity anomaly that they saw before he ended up leaving, and he thought his daughter was crazy. But in actuality, it was him talking to himself. So he realizes that there's nothing that they can do, that time has already set its course, and he's already there. So what he realizes he can do is manipulate. He left a watch for his daughter right before they left, and he realizes that he can manipulate the little hand on the watch in order to send a message. So they end up having a plan A and a plan B. A plan A is to move everybody off of Earth into space while they're trying to find a different planet. Plan B is the Lazarus mission goes out to a new planet with a bunch of fermented eggs of different animals, humans, plants. They have pretty much a population bomb, for lack of better terms. But Plan A, in order for Plan A to work, they had to solve the problem of manipulating gravity in order to get a large aircraft up in space and off of Earth. They were not able to do that because they did not have enough data from black holes. Well, whenever Cooper and his robot friend Tars went through the black hole, Tars collected a large plethora of data from the black hole, enough to solve the equation of the gravity relativity problem on Earth. So Cooper uses the second hand in the watch in his room to communicate a Morse code message to his daughter Because at this point, his daughter is a physicist and has been working with the Lazarus program as well. I know, I'm sorry, I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff that is key to the movie. There's so much information here. But he ends up getting the message out to her and just hopes for the best. Well, since this place where he's at is outside of time and outside of it, he's in the fifth dimension, so time is not relative at all. As soon as he sends the message, he sees the 5 dimensions collapsing in on itself. And he's like, oh my gosh, did we do it? I think we might have done it. So that's how this scene ends right here. And shortly after, he comes back to reality. He's laying down on... He's floating through space in the Milky Way galaxy. And in the he's passed out. In the distance, we see flashing lights. So he ends up waking up, and he's in a hospital bed on this completely new place that he's never seen before. And he's looking around, trying to make sense of it all. Since he sent out that message to his daughter, they ended up figuring out the problem of gravity and was able to get a centrifuged spacecraft up off of the Earth, and it rotates on an axis in a circle in order to maintain Earth's gravity. In order for homes to be built, pretty much everything gets done the same, but it's in space inside of a sealed cabin with oxygen on a giant ship. So whenever Cooper returns, he finds his daughter again, and his daughter is 86 years old whenever they get back, lying on her deathbed, and he got back just in the nick of time. Whenever Cooper goes and sees his daughter sitting there, they just have a moment of silence and just look at each other, and it is... Cooper finally realizes, like, wow, I told my daughter I'd come back. I did not think it would be like this. And like all of my worst dreams have came true. But I'm happy I'm back. They have a moment of peace. They talk. And Murphy's whole entire family is there because she's a great grandmother now. So her whole entire family is there, gathered around. And her dad, Mr. Cooper, is there with her, and she just tells her dad, she's like, no, go. No father should ever have to see his child die. And so he starts bawling his eyes out, and he's like, you know what, you're right. I'll let you be here with your family that you've known all of your life since you have not known me. And right before he goes, Murph tells Cooper that they have been receiving messages and transmissions from Professor Brand. She ended up making it to the planet, and the planet is habitable. So they are trying to figure out a way in order to get the spacecraft over to the new planet. So that's where the movie ends, and this movie is filled with large amounts of fear, twists, problems, solutions, unknown, known, cosmic phenomenon, everything that outlines Gothic literature. It is planted right here inside of this movie. And that is why I was so excited to do this movie, because I think it is a prime example of Gothic literature. And it is... If you have not watched it for yourselves, please, I know I've probably spoiled it for absolutely everybody that's watching because it was full of information, but please go give it a watch and you will see all of the aspects that I'm talking about. There's happy times, there's sad times, there's confusing times, there's anxious times. It is such a large action-packed movie. And the main premise behind it is fear. They have no idea what is going to happen, no matter what they do. So it is such a prime example for this presentation, and I hope everybody loved it. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Thank you so much for watching.